Hey there, I'm Ian Douglas. I'm the author of the website techinterview.guide, and I'm here to help people with career advancement and interview preparation. My live stream on Twitch covers topics such as company research, how to build resumes and cover letters, applying for the job, getting through interviews, and what to do during negotiations. I've coached thousands and thousands of people over the years to get jobs at the biggest tech companies in the industry, and I'm here to help you too. The following episode is taken from a longer live stream event and may contain interactions with other people in chat. Check out the end of the episode for more information. Let's get to it. All right, the second resume that we've got here. The note came in, said, I'm pursuing a bachelor's in computer science. I'm not getting hired even though I have skills. My resumes are being rejected. It's giving me a lot of stress. Please help me fix my resume. So let's dive in a little bit. I was mentioning before I started the video clip that I like to kind of go through and like highlight the text on here, make sure that everything is being picked up properly. Notice, for example, that when I highlight the text on here, it doesn't pick up the word stream. That didn't get highlighted. And if I continue to drag down here, achievements and tasks doesn't get highlighted. All the other text on the page does seem to get highlighted. If I hit Control A, then it does highlight everything on the page. So that is one thing to be aware of is how is this text actually being sort of picked up and translated as plain text. So what I would typically do on that is highlight everything on the page, copy it to my clipboard, and then paste it in a text editor. And that'll let you see what an applicant tracking system will see in the order that it sees it. Does it see your name first? Does it see, blocks of relevant information sort of with each other, like as far as your skills and projects and things like that go? So let's take a look at this. So we did another resume review earlier where we talked about, do you need to have a profile picture on your resume? In some cultures and some countries, it's okay to. In the United States, we generally recommend not to put a profile picture on here, as well as European CVs. They recommend not having a profile picture on here because it can subject you to bias. So the first thing I would probably do is take the picture off of here. You do have a kind of an opening statement here. I'm a tech explorer, on starts with a capital O. So just watching out for grammar and spelling like that. On the path of learning new skills and making myself proficient in various tech stack while being a persistent problem solver with inquisitive nature to drive improvements. So this is a really, really long sentence that could probably be broken into like 2 or 3 sentences. And just be really careful about grammar. I have a strong attention to work efficiently with a high level of accuracy. So again, just being aware of grammar and syntax and what you're actually writing, and getting someone to actually come through and proofread your resume would be a good idea. Now, as a hiring manager, do I get any value out of this? So when I'm looking over a resume, I'm looking for a reason to say no. I'm looking for, how is this person going to have an impact on my team? That's really what I'm looking for in a resume. What are you bringing to my team? What's on this resume that's going to make me go, whoa, I want them to come do that here. That's what you want on a resume. You want to kind of play on my emotion a little bit of like, I can come do that there. You just need to hire me. I bet I can come do that for you too. And so as much as possible, when I look at these resumes, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, can you come do that here? So you're a tech explorer, you're learning new skills, you're making yourself proficient in various tech stack, while being a persistent problem solver, inquisitive. So there's not a lot of value to me yet. You're telling me like your personal attributes, like you like problem solving, you like efficiency, you like to learn, but that doesn't tell me what you bring as an overall skill set. So in this case, they're learning computer science. They're graduating in May of 2023, but they haven't really pointed, like in this opening statement, they haven't really said like, this is where I'm taking my career. So for a new graduate type resume, whether you're coming out of a degree program or whether you're coming out of a boot camp, what I want to see as far as the value that you're bringing to me is, what is your overall goal? Where do you want to take these skills? What is it that you want to do with these superpowers now that you know how to like write code and you're a software developer or web developer, mobile developer, in DevOps, whatever kind of role you want to be? What do you want to do with that? That's what I want to see on this page. I want you to tell me the story of like, I see you're headed in this direction. Guess what? I'm also headed in that direction. We might as well do this together. That's really what I'm looking for here. So there's not a lot in this opening statement that says, hey, this is the impact I can come have on your team. There's not anything in here that really tells me anything like that. We got an email address. We got a location. Again, having a location on a resume can subject you to geographic bias. But if you're looking for a job in this particular area, then it's okay to have on your resume. If you're not looking for a job in that area, or you're looking for a remote job, I would take your location off completely. They've got a Twitter feed on here. I'm actually going to copy this Twitter link. I'm going to open it in a different browser window. Having a Twitter link on a resume can be a little bit of a dangerous thing, because I may go look at your tweets and I may want to see, like, what are you retweeting? What are you actually tweeting about? Are you tweeting about technical topics? Or are you tweeting anything at all? In this case, when I look through their Twitter history, it's really short. Like, they've been on Twitter for a couple of years, but I could probably count on my two hands how many actual Twitter messages they've actually posted. So to me, having this Twitter feed on the resume has no benefit whatsoever. I don't see any value as a hiring manager when I look at your Twitter feed. So I would take the Twitter feed off. Unless you're staying up to date on all these things, you know, you're trying to learn all these new skills and you're trying to learn all these new tech stacks and trying to be proficient in all this stuff. If you're going to put a Twitter feed on there, then that Twitter feed better show me, hey, I just learned this thing. Hey, go check out this project that I just made learning this new thing. Hey, go check this thing out. Or, hey, I just signed up for this course. Like, I don't see any of that on your Twitter feed. I see a pinned tweet that looks like some sort of maybe a hackathon of some kind. I see like a response to someone else's tweet. I see a tweet about a hackathon, but that hackathon was just this past August. I see a couple of retweets. I see a message from back in February about, like, is it me or is everybody awake at 4 a.m.? And then a tweet from March 2021. And it's about holograms. And it's just, hey, you know, this Microsoft Ignite thing is kind of interesting and fun from a VR, AR perspective. There's nothing of value on your Twitter feed. So I would take that Twitter feed off completely. There's no value to a hiring manager to see that on there. Phone number is fine. They need a way to contact you. LinkedIn is good. Try to see if you can get these random numbers off your name if possible. You can go in and you can clear that out on LinkedIn. You can sometimes customize this to be whatever you want it to be. Having a GitHub profile on here is good. I'm going to go copy that. Go open that in another browser. Ooh. All right. Well, let's talk about this. So I'm actually going to pull this up on here. So because this person chose not to anonymize their resume, I'm okay, like, showing this. Here's their GitHub. As a hiring manager, like, this would be an immediate, like, nah, I'm not going to bother calling them. You have some repositories on here, but I see no value. Like, I don't see you coding on a regular basis. So you're in a computer science program, but I don't see regular programming. Now, that's not to say that you're not coding all the time. You probably are. I would get that stuff on GitHub. If you're going to put a GitHub repo on your resume, I should see some commits. You've got a couple of repos on here. If I go look at your top pinned repos from 2 years ago, let's go look at your to-do app. 16 months ago. Logistics, 15 months ago. Some kind of front end, 13 months ago, 10 months ago. Titanic problem, 13 months ago. So there's nothing recent on your GitHub. Everything on here is at least a year old, up to 2 years old. So again, like, looking over your resume of what value do you bring to my team? Right now, I haven't seen any value. So those would be the first things. So again, the note that they provided was, I'm not getting interviews. I'm not able to find a job. Like, what's wrong with my resume? Well, there's two things already. You're putting a Twitter feed on there that is of no value. Well, actually, three things. Your opening statement here doesn't talk about the value of, like, where you're taking your career, what you want to be doing. Like, call yourself a software developer as a title, put that under your name, but then, like, tell me what you want to do with your career. And your GitHub is completely empty. So hiring managers are going to look at this and go, you've got all these really old repositories. You haven't been doing any recent coding. This looks like you haven't written any code since February. And you made one commit back in February. And if I go look at that one commit, it's literally a quoted comment in a README file. It's not even correct markdown. So as a hiring manager, I would look at this and go, there's no value here. It looks like you started on the customized sort of layout here, but something about this didn't work out because I don't actually see that showing up when I load up your GitHub profile. If you go to my GitHub profile, for example, you see all the customized stuff here. For whatever reason, yours isn't showing up. So you did a bunch of work on that custom README, but it's not actually showing up as part of your repo. So like, fix that stuff. Those are probably major flags that employers are looking at that going, you say you're a developer. I see no recent activity that shows me proof of that. So let's go back to the resume here. So you've been there since August 2019. You're graduating in May of 23. You've got your GPA on here. It's a good GPA. So again, in India, their GPA is out of 10. So it's a really high GPA. It's good. High school is probably not going to be as important, but again, that can be cultural. That might be an expectation in India, but here in the United States, that wouldn't be. They would just want to see college or university or boot camp or things like that. They wouldn't care about high school unless there was something specific that you learned at that high school that is applicable. So for example, my senior year of high school, I took a specific electrical engineering set of classes in order to get into an electrical engineering program at college. And so if I were applying for an electronics type of job or an IoT type of job, I might list that on my resume. Even though it was 30 years ago, I probably wouldn't put high school on my resume now. But those would be the first couple of things that stand out there. The skills, I like that you've got, kind of a different way of presenting this in these little blocks. But I see language, framework, platform, high level concept, language, CCNA. That's it's like a certification. AR is kind of like, augmented reality, but that's not really, it's like a type of programming, I guess, or, a type of technology. Figma as a tool, React as a library, back to languages. Then you call yourself a backend developer. Like, put that title up here at the top if you're doing backend. Back to a language, back to a tool and library. I mean, coding. Yeah, you're a software developer. Like, you don't need coding on here. You've already shown me coding by telling me all this other stuff. You don't have to explicitly say coding. Social media handling. Again, that's not a lot of value. If you're looking for a software development job, social media handling is not an attribute that you would have on your resume. And looking at your Twitter feed, it doesn't show it. You haven't demonstrated that skill. When I go look at your Twitter feed, the social media handling does not line up as far as like seeing a competency of, do you have thousands of followers or something like that? You got like 66 followers on Twitter. So again, it doesn't show a lot of value to me as a hiring manager of like, I can come do this for you. You've got your project work on here. You got a to-do app. But again, this was a long time ago. Job scope, you actually list as May 2022, but I don't see that repo. So let's go look at all of your other repositories here. What was that one called? Job scope. Job scope helps students find recruiters and explore their interests. So I like that you're starting with a user empathy statement. I think that's really important. I think that's great. Avalabari, thanks for the follow. As opposed to existing job search platforms, the large scope of jobs makes it difficult to find and apply for, especially without prior experience or a networking mindset. So that's fine, but where is the project? Like, how do I get to this? So you claim that this was April through May of this year, but I don't see a repository for it. The last repository was updated in February. These are all chronological order. So I don't see anything in here that shows me that you worked on that repository in the time that you're showing me on the resume. So where's that code? How do I get to that application? Where do I actually get to go see that app? and go experience that application. So a couple of things that I would put on the resume here is give me a link to the project. I don't necessarily need to know when you did it if it's a recent project. If it was an old project, then I think that that's fine. If I was looking for somebody who knows Spring, like that was a Java developer that knew Spring, listing that project first would be the way to go, because that's the immediate value that you bring. You're showing me I'm a Java developer. I know how to build an application in Spring Boot. Job scope, though, you don't tell me anything about the technologies that you use, so I don't know how you built it. You don't link to a repo. I can't go experience that application at all, so it's of no benefit. A card and document scanner, it's kind of this ongoing project, but again, you don't link that on your resume either. Secured authentication, privacy protection. But again, start with a user empathy statement first. Like, what is this app about? And then tell me like what it's built in and so on. It's a web front, a mobile app, and an API to integrate. So it's a web front, it's a mobile app, and it's an API to integrate them both. But both is 2 things, not 3 things. So again, be careful about the grammar on this sort of stuff, which eliminates the use of external physical scanners, thereby saving its purchasing and maintenance costs in both existing ad hoc kiosks. Okay. There's a great user empathy statement but I would probably start with eliminate the purchase and maintenance costs of these kiosks by using this mobile app, to replace, or users can use a mobile app to replace these other kiosks and so on. Hey, Finet, good to see you in chat. So again, I'm not seeing like it's a good user empathy statement, and you do list some of the technologies that you used here. You did Flutter, React, Mongo, AWS. But again, I don't see this application anywhere on your GitHub. Your GitHub is really, really empty. So you put it on your resume claiming that you've done this project, claiming that you know these technologies, but you're not backing that up. You're listing a GitHub profile that's empty, and you're giving me a Twitter feed that doesn't give me enough information to know that I would want to hire you. Work experience, it's good to show. If you've done any kind of professional experience, I think that this is fine. You've done some research work. You are also a web analyst for a company called One Life. Interactive web for people who are struggling with mental health. That's cool. Added a voice AI bot. That's great. Research on various mental health programs and how technology can fix it. Okay. So you call yourself a web analyst, but then you claimed you're doing research. So again, just making sure that you're choosing the right kinds of words. Now, one thing that I noticed about the resume is you've got a lot of font changes on here as well. You've got one font, one color, and one font size. You change, I think it's the same font, but you go from all caps to title case with a different font size, a different font weight, and a different font color. Your project title then looks to me like it's another font in another size. It's also like black font, but the font size is also different, and it's a different font face. And then you change again to go to italics, and then you change the color with the italics, and then you change the color again, and then you go back to black font in a different font again. So what I would do, highlight all the text on here, make it a single font face, make everything a single font size, and then go and very carefully choose where you want to change font sizes. But right now, this actually psychologically is very hard to read from a reader's perspective, because as they're scanning through, they're like, whoa, font change, whoa, font change, whoa, font change. And it's distracting subconsciously. They may not be able to put words to it, but they're going to read over this resume and go, something's weird about this resume. And it's because you're changing the font and the style and the color of the font and the styling and the syntax of the font and the font face so many times that people are going to start skimming through this and go, no. Organizations, I love that you got this stuff on here. It's important to show these kinds of things, especially like student ambassadors. So definitely keep those on there. Postman student. Hey, Postman. Hooray. Now, so these are still ongoing. This was only 1 month long, which is fine. I would probably try to pull out a little more detail of like, what did you do in these? You're listing some other certificates, which is fine. You mentioned the CCNA in your skills block up above. World Skills Russia AR/VR Championship. Okay, that's cool. But again, some of these are really old. And again, you're not really providing code to sort of back these up. Now on your Twitter feed, I did see the hackathon, but again, these are also out of chronological order. So this one was present, this one was a long time ago, this one was more recent than this one, so Google Cloud should actually be above World Skills, and this one is also newer than everything else, so this should actually be first. So you always want to list things from newest to oldest on your resume as well. So a handful of things that I would update and change. Now, I've actually got this, and you can actually do, I think it's Bang Resume Sample. You can go grab this this Google Doc, or you can just go to tig.fyi/resume sample, and it'll get you over to this Google Doc. And you're welcome to grab anything off of this Google Doc that you like. These are just little snippets of, like, you know, here's some different ways that you can lay out your project. You can lay out sort of your contact information, your skills block, and things like that. You're welcome to steal any of this or not use it at all. Either way is fine. When it comes to project work, I like to see the title of it, whether it was a solo or group project. Give me a link where I can go experience it. If you've got it published somewhere online, let me click on that. Let me go experience what you built. If it's a mobile app, take me over to like the Google Play Store or the iTunes Store or something like that, where I can download the app and maybe log in and tinker with it. Give me a repo. If you can give me a repo to actually go see the code, at a minimum, I would want to see code on GitHub for a project. If you can give me a link to actually go experience that, that's even better. The how we made it, that was something that some students were asking, like, if we make a demo video about it, like, could we link that on the resume? And I said, sure, you could do that. Give me that user statement. Give me something fun and geeky that you learned about that project, and then just simplify your tech stack. These were the technologies that we used. To me, as a hiring manager, I look over this and go, this is clean, this is readable. I can quickly see the value that this person would bring to my team because they built this kind of application. I can go see the code. I can verify it was them. I can see how they did their commits. I can see how they contributed to a project. If it was a group project, you know, what was your responsibility on that team? And these are the technologies. And so you're showing me, this is what I know. This is where I practiced it. This is where I've learned it. When I look at this resume, though, I don't get that sense of, like, you claim to know these things, you claim to have worked on these projects, but I have no way of verifying. I have no proof of any of this. So a handful of things that I would probably rearrange here. Now, do you keep it in 2 columns? That's up to you. That's a personal choice. If you want a 2-column resume, that's okay. But as a hiring manager, when I look at a resume, I need to quickly see, is this value that you bring to my company? Like, when I read over a resume, again, what's going through my mind is, I want you to come here and do this at my company as well. And I don't get a lot of that out of this resume. So the note that was sent over was, I've got a resume, I'm not finding a job, like, what's wrong with my resume? That's probably it. I think hiring managers are going to look at this and go, okay, and, like, what's the value that you bring to me? Where are you taking your career? Do you want to work in AR, VR? Because you've got some project work around that, or at least you claim to. I can't go verify any of that anywhere. So you need to tell me, like, this is the interest that I have. This is where I want to take my career. Make that more prominent. If you want to be an AR, VR developer, make that really prominent on your resume. Give yourself that title under your name, AR, VR developer. Make those technologies the first technologies I see in your skills block. Make that project the first project that I see. So it's an immediate in my face, like, oh yeah, you're an augmented reality, virtual reality developer. Here's all these things that you've done. Right now, it's kind of scattered all over the place, and I've got no quick way to sort of summarize all of this to see the value that you would bring to me. Thanks for checking that out. I hope that you found it helpful. I always appreciate feedback, so please let me know what you think. I appreciate any subscriptions, so please tell your friends and colleagues about it as well. Check out the website techinterview.guide for more information about when I'm live streaming and all of my free content. Drop by a live stream anytime to ask questions or message me privately, whatever makes you most comfortable. See you next time.